All right, guys, if you missed problems 4 through 9, which most of you did, this is what you should be watching. Now, this is the calculator part. You know that you could have simply typed this in on your calculator, even if you had no idea how to do this. On your calculator, remember how you have the second button and then the decimal button? That's how you get to the I. So you could have literally just typed it in exactly like you see it. Parentheses 2 minus I, parentheses, just like you see it. So if you forgot that, remember it for next time. But I'm going to show you how to work it out. You're going to distribute 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times I is positive 2I. Negative I times 2 is negative 2I. And negative I times positive I is negative I squared. Now you have to remember some things about like terms. Positive 2I and negative 2I, they're just going to cross out. And I squared is equal to negative 1. So this can be replaced with a negative 1. Well, you've already got a minus in front of it. So minus a negative 1 would actually make it plus 1. So the answer was 5. A lot of you got 4. For the next one, this one you could type into your calculator. It's a little more tricky because to type it in, you'd have to put parentheses around it and use the division key. The correct way to set it up is to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. The denominator is 7 plus 3i, so the conjugate would be 7 minus 3i. And then you just distribute. So you say 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times negative 3i is negative 12i. Negative 2i times 7 is negative 14i. And negative 2i times negative 3i is positive 6i squared. All over. And there's a shortcut for this. If you ever multiply a number times its conjugate, all you have to do is multiply the first number times the first number and the last number times the last number. Because the middle terms will always cross out, so you don't have to worry about it. And now you get your like terms together. Well, look here. You got a negative 12i and a negative 14i. That'll give you a negative 26i. Remember, I squared is negative 1, so just change the sign in front. So it's going to be 28 minus 6, which is 22, all over. And again, I squared is negative 1, so you just change it to a plus. So that's going to end up giving you 58 on the bottom. Now that's an answer, and if anybody would have gotten that close, I probably would have given you all the points, but you have to simplify this. All of these are even, so you divide everything by 2. So final answer is 11 minus 13i all over 29. So that was your final answer for number 5. For number 6, you have to remember that you can only multiply square roots times other square roots. So when you distribute, you just have to keep it like this, 5 square root of 3, because you can't multiply and say it's 15. Now for this part, you can multiply the 3 and the 15 and just leave the 2 out front. Well, 3 times 15 is 45. Now this is correct, but you have to break down the 45 and simplify it. So square root of 45 breaks down to 3 square root of 5. Well, you've already got a 2 in front, so you have to multiply the 2 and the 3. So that gives you a final answer of 5 square root of 3 minus 6 square root of 5. Now, a lot of you put decimals, but I wanted you to actually work it out and not get any decimals. All right, first this one, you just break down the square root of 72. You do your little factor tree. 36 times 2, 6 times 6. So you have a pair of 2's and you have a pair of 3's. So you have a pair of 2's here. Pair of 3's, so you have a 2 and a 3, and then you have a 2 left. So that gives you a 6 square root of 2. But remember, it had a negative, and that comes out as an I, so your final answer is 6i square root of 2. Now 8 was supposed to be easy. By the way, you could have typed this into your calculator, but it would have given you a decimal, so you actually had to know how to do this one by hand. For this one, you could just multiply by the conjugate. Well, the conjugate of 5i is negative 5i. So 2 times negative 5i is negative 10i. 5i times negative 5i is negative 25i squared. And remember the rule, that's going to be a positive. So you get negative 10i over positive 25. That reduces because 5 will go into both of those. So that's how you get negative 2I over 5. For number 9, you could have just typed in 21 or I 21 times, like just hit I 21 times. Or you could go through the little pattern, I1, negatives in the middle. And remember that it repeats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, until you got to 21. Or the way I do it is I just divide by 4 and see how many times that goes. Oh, that goes 5 times. I can't even divide. Have to excuse me here. That's going to be 4 into, well, it works. 4 goes into 21 5 times. And you have a remainder of 1. So since your remainder of 1, it's just an I. So the answer was just I for that one. So if you miss these, you're supposed to do problems. It says Unit 2 test problems 4 through 9. And it's practice for each type of these problems that you missed.